I think we will do Germany because it's the place that you lived for longer. So yeah, as you know, I asked the same questions to every guest, starting for the cultural adjustment. What thing took you a while to adjust in Germany for you?
Yeah, I think the rules and schedules and this kind of strict lifestyle, I thought it was in the textbooks that I'd been learning. I thought it was kind of theoretical, but I was like, people surely don't live like this, but they do. And the flexible and spontaneity is not there in my experience. I arrived my first time in winter in Germany. And I think this made it extra difficult for me because I wasn't working on Sundays, for example, and they have the Ruhetag. And I think if you don't have a friendship group established and you're not spending time with the family because you're on a day off and you can't really go to the supermarket or do much, this was just like a big shock for me because it was the weekend and I was expecting it to be, bubbly, sociable situation, and it wasn't.
Mm,
So yeah, this way of life, I eventually learned to love it, but it was a shock at first.
I know.
You get it.
Yeah, I get it. Absolutely. Well, talking about social circles and building the second point is social life. How do you meet friends in there?
Yeah, I think Germany is probably the country where I've had to make the most effort. You really have to put yourself out there because nobody's going to spontaneously invite you for cafe and kuchen if you don't interact and if you don't make those efforts, and it takes time to make the social connections. I love a challenge, so I signed up for lots of language exchanges, expat groups, which is not optimal if you want to meet locals, but for me it was a good start to kind of get in there. I think that there's like a really good scheme that the tandem apps that they have, which are great for language learning, but also for meeting people. And I know that you mentioned this in your videos, like the Verein, like the sports clubs. I wasn't really aware that that was such a big thing in Germany, but once you're kind of in one of them, it opens up a whole new circle and it makes the whole thing a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that would be my experience.
You touched upon it a little bit, but the third one, it's language. How did you learn German? Could you go around without speaking German at the beginning?
Yeah, so when I was with the family, I was there to speak English with the kids, with the exchange situation that they would speak German with me. And this is honestly something I would recommend because speaking to kids takes away the fear. And if you can read kids' books or you can, really simplify your language to speak on that beginner's level, that was a really good tool for me. I also went to a few night school courses, Volkshochschule, and that was more formal way of learning. But honestly, I think in the big cities you can survive with English. I love languages and I'm a nerd, so I wanted to kind of get stuck in there. But speaking to people, if you have a language to offer them and you do that exchange thing, I think that worked really well.
Makes sense. What about the cost of living back then in 2022 in
Yeah.
Germany? I think it went up, but
Yeah. I was trying to remember it and it was a while ago. I would say probably 1,500 to 2,000 a month. I feel like groceries and public transport are reasonable. Eating out and renting, especially in Frankfurt, were not reasonable.
yeah,
And I know that they've got more expensive since then.
absolutely. Talking about another thing that is difficult to do in Frankfurt, finding a home, finding an apartment in Germany. How was the
Yeah,
experience for you?
really difficult. I think it was like a job interview in a way that I've not experienced in another country. Like they would do viewings for people, and if they liked them more or just based on personality, they would choose these people to rent the homes, which is just a little bit bizarre. I mean, maybe this happens in other countries, but it's a lot of word of mouth. I use some apps like Immobilien, Scout, Wege gesucht, these kind of things. But yeah, the large deposits really surprised me. And also the fact that we had to paint the walls before you left. I don't know if you had to do this, but we had to completely whitewash the walls as a condition of leaving the apartment. So not only are you packing up everything, but you're also doing a decorating job, which would not happen in England, I'm sure.
I mean, it's still less strange than taking the kitchen with you, like Italy or Greece
Yes,
does.
that is a bit bizarre. Yeah.
You touched also a little bit about it, but living like a local, what's the things that you use to blend into Germany's life?
Yeah, I think this is a harder one. Top tip would be to recycle properly because otherwise your neighbors are going to find out and they will know exactly who's not recycling properly and they will hate you. Cash, I think I was surprised. I thought Germany was a very modern and digital country, but cash is definitely important for the small purchases, especially.
Mm.
Being polite to people, which maybe sounds obvious, but I think respect is a really big thing in Germany, and greeting your neighbors. And yeah, I didn't do it because it was COVID, but I know that it was happening, that there were lots of protests and lots of like you would take your whole family to go and protest, and kids were involved, and that was just a little bit bizarre for me.
Yeah, a little bit more calm demonstrations normally
Yeah, absolutely.
compared to other places.
Absolutely.
What about your work life?
hmm
How would you describe the work culture that you experienced there?
I think it's quite competitive, but quite professional. I was surprised by how formal, unstructured, like the languages, and the big separation between work life and personal life. People just don't discuss anything that happens outside of the office walls. It's hard for me to give a full picture because a lot of the time I was working from home because of COVID, so I didn't go into the office. But yeah, I did find it challenging to find a job, especially graduating in a pandemic. Not recommended, to be honest.
No, I can imagine. It's a hard start, that's for sure. What about getting around? Like best way to move around the city,
Yeah.
car, metro, transportation in general.
Yeah, so I don't enjoy driving, and I'm really grateful that in Germany it never seemed necessary. Deutsche Bahn it will get you from A to B. It will probably be late, contrary to the to the German
Yes.
stereotype. But I use that app all the time, constantly checking for the schedules and the updates. And I think since I left Germany, they have like a 50 euro, the whole of Germany. You can travel around, a ticket. So that would be something I recommend if anybody's thinking of moving there. But I definitely got like the monthly pass for the metro or the buses, and it's all pretty well connected.
Yeah. Being the weirdest thing in Frankfurt, that it's one of the only cities in Europe that doesn't have Google Maps with the public transport in it. But yeah, sure. It's weird. What about healthcare? Did you unfortunately need to deal with healthcare system?
So it was a strange thing for me because I'm coming from the UK, where we have a national health service and it's free for everybody. There's not really, I mean, we have the private option, but most people use the public. And I remember that you need to get health insurance, and there's a lot of paperwork to do this in Germany. But I was surprised that how little they prescribe medications. So I went to the doctors once, and I was expecting them, to give antibiotics or something. And the doctor sat there and he was like, "Have you tried drinking tea?" And I was like, yeah, I'm British. I have had a cup of tea, but I think I need something a bit stronger. So I think that was interesting for me, how much they suggest natural remedies, honey, hot water, rest. Yeah, that was an interesting part of the healthcare system.
Cool. I have 3 more. Next one, it's normally a nightmare for everyone. So bureaucracy.
Yep.
How did you deal with paperwork, visas? Visas not at that point of time, probably, or already.
I needed a residence permit, I think. Yeah. Yeah,
How was the experience?
I want to use the word nightmare, but now I'm looking at the Spanish system and I'm like, oh, Germany was quite organized in comparison. So I think just patience. Take every single piece of paper that you've ever been born with to every appointment, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. That normally it's the best recommendation, true.
That's all I'm going to say about
that. 2 more. The next one, it's best thing about living in Germany and the worst thing about living in Germany.
Yeah. I'm a big advocate for Germany. I think it might get a bad rep, and especially the German language, but I always felt safe, and I think the efficiency is a big plus of living there, a really good quality of life. I love the location kind of in the center of Europe. It's really easy to access a lot of other countries on buses or trains without needing to fly. Obviously, coming from an island, that's a big difference. So I love that. Maybe on the more negative side, the bureaucracy and like the initial social reserve, because people come across quite cold and not as outgoing until you get to know them. And if you have the patience for that, I think you can get a lot of reward.
And the last one, it's the top tip that you would give to anyone planning to move to Germany.
Lüften, which is going to be a little bit strange, but Germans love Lüften, which for anybody that doesn't speak German is basically opening windows. And it doesn't sound revolutionary, and it's not, but they love it. It's like a daily activity. If you want to be truly German, you need to embrace the love of opening the windows, getting some fresh air in the freezing winter, and preventing mold in your apartment. And you've nailed it.
Good tip, actually.